Today, we're going to talk about a skill that you can use to get more engaged in your workouts and your life. You'll learn how to weather and get through emotional storms so that you can be more effective in your personal and your fitness life. So, subscribe if you're a DBZ fan. If your power level is currently under 9,000, you'd like to get above 9,000. And let's get to the episode. So the thought behind this episode is that if you ever find it hard to remain focused and present due to your emotions or boredom or any other type of feeling, this episode should help give you a skill that you can use so that you can be more effective in your workouts and your life. It's a very simple skill. It's called 10-5-1, and I'm going to teach you all the parts and pieces, and then hopefully you can apply this whenever you're feeling distracted, whenever you're feeling anxious, whenever you're feeling sad, anything that is keeping you from doing the things you need to do, fitness or otherwise. 10-5-1 is a way to drop anchor. Now, that is a term coined by Russ Harris, so I highly recommend you check out his work. It's on acceptance and commitment therapy, but 10-5-1 is a modified version of dropping anchor that I use with my clients, and I find it very helpful, and I use it myself on a day-to-day basis. First thing you're going to want to do is find a comfy spot. Now, this comfy spot could be sitting on the end of a workout bench. You can do this at the beginning of your workouts, in between sets, things like that. You can do it sitting in a comfy chair, which might be the best way to go about this first, or you can do it laying in bed. Now, this could be as you're getting ready for bed or as you're waking up and getting ready to engage with the day. I recommend practicing at those times just because it seems to be an easier way to get in sort of the skills practice, and that's what this is. This is just like any other skill. This is just like squatting, benching, deadlifting. If you practice it, you're going to be more effective. If you don't practice it and the times that you need it come up, you're going to be less effective. So step 1, 10 deep breaths. You're going to want to do these breaths in a very specific way. That is going to be in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just like that. You'll know if you're doing this right if your stomach rises and your chest doesn't. So I think whenever people start to learn how to do deep breathing, or for others might call it diaphragmatic breathing, one of the things you may notice is that your chest will rise as you're breathing, and people think that's what taking a deep breath is. Not really. That's a fairly shallow form of breathing because your diaphragm extends down beyond the top of your chest. So if you're breathing very shallowly in through your mouth or in through your nose, and you find your chest rising, probably not the best way to do it. A way you can combat this is you can put your hands right on your stomach. I recommend right on your belly button, and breathe in through your nose and then out through your mouth. And a way you can check to see if you're doing it right is your belly is pushing against your hands, sort of like when you're getting ready to brace for a squat or bracing for a deadlift and you have a belt on. You want to breathe into that belt so that you can form as much intrathoracic pressure as possible and create sort of a rigid spine. For this, you just want to make sure that you're breathing deeply, and that's a good way to do it. Once you've got that pattern of breathing down, you'll want to take a look at the timing. You're going to want to make sure that you have a very long exhale. So most people can inhale through their nose relatively quickly. You still kind of want it to be controlled, but a slightly slower inhale is going to be pretty effective here, but the exhale is what you're going to want to focus on. So whenever you're thinking about exhaling, think about pursing your lips and blowing through a straw. So out through your mouth. So your exhale should be slower than your inhale. Some things you can find online, things like square breathing. They'll say like a 4-second inhale, hold for 4 seconds, 4-second exhale, hold for 4 seconds. That's a total of about 16 seconds. Honestly, what I like to focus on is about a 3 to 4 second inhale, and then as slow as is comfortable, exhale. And that's the pattern I focus on. And that's around 1 breath every 10 seconds over the course of a minute. That's about 6 breaths. So anywhere in the 4 to 7 breaths range in a minute is going to be effective for the purposes of this exercise. The real thing there is that is going to help signal your body that you need to be in a more calm state and more so than that, you're not in danger. So by breathing in that way, it'll bring down any sort of physiological response that you got from any of the emotions that you were experiencing, and it'll really just relax you and put you in place. Now that you have the form down, shoot for 10 deep breaths, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Make sure that you can breathe into your hand, and that should get you nice and comfortable. Lastly, your attention should be on your breath. Your mind is going to wander. It's going to pull you in various different directions. It's going to pull you into things you have to do later on in the day, things you have to do tomorrow. It very well could pull you into the past, and you could be ruminating or thinking about events that have happened, things that you might have said. Doesn't matter. Your mind's like radio doom and gloom. It will give you anything to pull your attention away from the present moment and get you thinking. It just wants to keep you safe and functioning and moving forward. However, that can take you out of the present moment. So when your mind does take you out of the present moment, just return your thoughts, your focus, your attention back to your breath. So moving on to step 2, you are still going to want to breathe comfortably. You can place less focus and attention on your breath. You just want to make sure that you're at a comfortable pace and rhythm. After you are at a comfortable pace and rhythm, you're going to want to turn your attention to your 5 senses. Like I said before, your mind is going to pull your attention, and if you have effectively sort of reorganized and sort of reoriented, your attention back to your breath, now you're going to want to shift your attention to your 5 senses. So what are our 5 senses? So anything that we can hear, anything that we can see, smell, taste, and touch, those are essentially the 5 senses that we're going to focus on. We're going to ignore things like proprioception. So first thing you're going to want to do is you are going to want to turn your attention to your sight. A real easy way to do this is to spot 5 things you can see in the room. So for me, I can see that stupid dehumidifier that is making all this noise, and hopefully my mic's not picking that up. I can see my weight bench over here behind me, see this computer monitor, I see heater, I see my belt squat, I see my dumbbells. That might have been more than 5. However, those are things in the room. So get into contact with things that are in your line of sight and otherwise. Additionally, another thing you could do is you could pick one object and begin noticing all the features of it. So if I were to look at my belt squat over here, I could start at the handles and notice all the way down to the weight rack and to the portion that extends out that I attach my belt to, and the raised platform that isn't high enough for me to get into a deep enough squat. So I've put bumper plates on there, and I could just notice all the aspects about it. So that sort of other thing that you could do for your site is, instead of noticing 5 things in the room, you could pick one thing and just notice it more deeply. Moving on, now you can shift your attention to things that you can hear. So some things that I can hear, again, this stupid dehumidifier, which is now blowing for whatever reason. I can hear that. Additionally, on the other side of this wall is my washing machine. I chose to shoot this video while I was doing laundry. Hopefully not a mistake that I can take care of in post-production. Other things that I can hear my kids upstairs, little pitter-patter of steps. I think that's about it. So with what you can hear, just take your time. Pay attention to individual sounds for as long as you'd like, and you can actually shift your attention back and forth from the sound and back to your breath, just making sure that you're controlling your attention and paying attention effectively to whatever it is you are noticing. Moving on to things that we can feel. So what can you feel? So if you're in a seated position, perhaps you can feel the chair underneath you pressing against you. Perhaps you can push your feet into the floor a little bit and you can feel the floor under your feet. Perhaps you can feel the clothes that are on your body, and just sort of the tightness or the looseness there. Moving on to things like your fingertips. Maybe you can pay extra attention. Maybe you can sort of narrow your focus and your attention to trying to feel the ridges on your fingertips. So you can shift your attention to things that you can feel, again, much like things that you can hear, and just begin to notice. This is all really just a noticing exercise and getting in contact in things out in the world instead of inside of our head. Returning our attention back to our breath. Again, it should be comfortable, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Now you can begin trying to notice things that you can smell. I sort of reserve smell, and taste for last, just because those seem to be the senses that sort of get contacted the least and they just aren't the easiest to contact in the moment unless you're drinking or eating something, and unless you have something that smells good that is close by. So smell and taste are sort of the last on the list. Anything that you can smell, let's say if you have a candle, let's say just any of the ambient smell in the room. So for me, I will say that dehumidifier does do a good job of making sure that it doesn't get mildewy down here. So I will thank it for that. So don't smell any of that. So no real smells going on in this room right now. Taste, not much to taste. However, if you are chewing something like gum, if you are drinking a beverage, you can begin to notice qualities of what you are doing. You can notice, like if you're chewing gum, the texture of the gum, which sort of goes back to feel, and then you can notice whatever flavor that is. If you're drinking a warm beverage, again, you sort of have this feel-taste combo if it's a warm beverage or a cool beverage, and you can begin noticing qualities and aspects of that. Small tip here, if you want to cycle through your senses and just focus on the senses that are the most salient, that's okay too. Honestly, I tend to just focus on the top three or the big three senses for me, the things that I can see, hear, and touch, just because it's easy to get a lot of stimuli. There's always something that you're going to see. There's quite a few things that you can hear, and you can always touch various things to get in contact with that. But just focus on the senses that are most salient to you at the time. Last step in 10-5-1, 10 deep breaths, 5 senses. The last step is to engage in whatever you need to do. Now, whether that's writing something, whether that's doing homework, whether that's getting into a workout that you're not motivated for, choosing to engage. The first 2 steps in this should have gotten you relaxed and present. If they did, and if you're relaxed and present, the emotions that you are feeling, or the boredom, or whatever, should be much lighter now, and the pull from those feelings to do something other than what you needed to do should be a lot lighter, and you should be able to more effectively engage in whatever you need to do. Back to the feelings. So you can use this if you're sad, anxious, bored, and more applicably, if you are dieting right now, getting ready to get into contest prep, you can do this whenever you are feeling hungry. This is a really cool skill to have, to notice the difference between feeling hungry and craving. There is a small chance that you aren't going to feel more present and more focused. Should that be the case, you just cycle back through. You can shift your attention back to your breath, and then back into your 5 senses, and back and forth from your senses to your breath, breath to your senses, noticing whenever thoughts sort of arise to pull you out of the present moment, acknowledging them, naming what they are, and then shifting your attention either back to your breathing or back to your senses. And you can just cycle back and forth through those things until you feel fully grounded in the here and now and ready to engage. I just want to highlight that it is completely normal for your mind to want to pull your attention. Your mind likes to problem solve, it likes to ruminate, it likes to worry. All of these things are normal. To more and lesser degrees, they fall along sort of a normal distribution. And if you find yourself worrying, ruminating, or just someplace else other than the here and now, that's normal. Our job here is to get in the mental reps so that we can pull our attention back and focus on the things we need to do. So if this was helpful, I think you'll like this next video on another mental skill that'll help you on your fitness and bodybuilding goals. Until next time, folks, take what's useful and leave the rest.